go. Mm. Hello, lovers. Good, glorious morning, good, glorious afternoon, whenever you're watching this. I am Melissa Louise, your pleasure advocate, erotic blueprint coach, sex, intimacy, and relationship expert. And oh my God, I am bursting. I am here with Naringa from Shakti Essence, and we're here to speak about who she is, where she's come from, what she does now in the world, because this conversation is so fucking alive around the effects of what our culture and society places in front of us. So Naringa is an ex-porn star, an ex but also too, we just had a conversation later on Instagram live, so I'm actually going to let her introduce and tell what she used to do. But yeah, it's so potent. We're going to have a deep dive, juicy dive. There's lots of questions we're going to get through, so I really hope you enjoy it. And yeah, would you love to introduce yourself, Naringa? Thank you so
Of course.
much for being here.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me here. And so my name is Naringa I. We left that out just in case. But yeah, so I'm an ex-sex worker in general. I have done webcam, escorting, and then porn. And in between of that, all the sugar daddy business, all the modeling, all the OnlyFans, probably whatever you have in mind, I have done it. So I have a lot of expertise when it comes to that. So I have begun my journey in sex work just before my 19th birthday. I was, a few months before my 19th birthday, and I started it as a webcam girl. Literally fell into it, as I shared on the Melissa's live early on today. It was supposed to be a date with a woman, and then it turned into 11-year career. And then many things. Should I go through what I said in the live as well, or do you not like?
You know what I would? Yeah, like I was just thinking it'd be great to share, like, like the fact of, I know it wasn't poverty, but what you shared about like what your parents were doing and how you didn't want to do that. Like, why? What was the purpose to get into it?
Okay, yeah. So on this date, I was basically confiding in this girl, that woman rather. She was very much a woman. That I was not interested in working in a factory. I was not interested to follow my parents' footsteps here in UK, and that was really hard work, hard graft. And I was like, I want to do something different. Like, I know that I am on this planet for something different, and that is definitely not grafting away my life in a factory. Mm-hmm. So she then suggested adult work, the webcamming. She showed me the ropes. She took some pictures. She helped me to write the profile. And that's how I began. Like, my mom would be away or in the kitchen, and I would be in my room quietly webcamming, and I remember the first time I done it, and I earned 30 credits. So that was like 30 pounds. I was over the fucking moon, because it only took me like 3-4 minutes to do, or something like, no, actually, maybe I'm exaggerating, about 10 minutes, let's say. And I was like, oh my God, literally. So I like, from when I was a student in the UK, you get this student support, EMA. Mm-hmm. And it was like £30 a week.
Oh my goodness. And you made that in 10 minutes.
And I made that in 10 minutes. I was like, fuck yeah, I see the light. I am going to be the most independent woman. I will not need to beg money from my mom, because I always felt like I was such a nuisance financially for my mom, because I wanted, I'm a pretty girl. I wanted clothes, and I wanted things like makeup and plus partying as well. I was 19, almost 19. So I wanted to be out and about, and my mom was not really giving me money. EMA did not cover much. I mean, at that time, it was okay, but it wasn't what I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and then I just kept going and going. And then a year or so later, my laptop broke down and I was met with the choice that I will have to escort, you know, because there was no, like, I was addicted to money at this stage. I was addicted to the attention I was getting from men, you know, because every time I would go on, I would be showered with compliments, like something I was so not used to because I was bullied my whole life for being ginger.
Mm-hmm.
So being online, having this persona of, oh my fucking God, I am so fucking gorgeous to them.
Wow. Yeah.
And I did not believe in that. I was living off the compliments, you know, I was living off this surface things because I was so not used to it. Like no one has ever told me to that point probably that I was beautiful. You know?
It really feeds into that primal, the three parts in our primal brain. I want to be loved. If I'm loved, I belong. And if I belong in family, community, relationship, I'm safe. So this first primal need, am I loved?
Yeah.
How it really feeds into that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have always I was always chasing love. Always since I was a little girl. Like you can, like if I was to ask my nursery teachers how I was, like she would probably tell you that I was writing a love letters to boys every week, every new guy, trying to see which one will love me. You know, because my dad was an alcoholic and my mom was an avoidant. So I did not receive the love that I needed as a child.
Mm-hmm.
The way I saw love was kind of like really confusing, love and hate, you know? So I was like, really did not understand when I was loved, you know? So that is kind of one of the reasons why I was so happy to be so praised. And, you know, I didn't understand that this whole thing was so superficial until I went into porn.
Right. Okay.
Because in porn, it opened me up to so much criticism, to so much being taking apart every part of me. Like, oh, my tits are saggy. Look at that fucking belly. She's too fat to be a porn star. She's so ugly. So webcam was safe. And then porn, I was exposed. And it was not safe. It was fucking scary. And I have to fight for myself every day on Twitter. And I did, you know, because of bullying in school. Flight or fight was always on, you know. I was always ready to fucking rip someone's face off, you know. So yeah, like when I was in the webcamming world, I was like in my own bubble. I was safe. I did what I wanted. Yeah, I kind of did because it was you know, behind the camera. So if I didn't want to do something, I could just fucking block them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, whereas porn world, and Twitter world, it was really hard to block so many people and not fight back because it was just flooding. Like I got famous really quickly. Like my first movie came out and someone posted it on YouTube. And because I said that I was Lithuanian, rookie mistake. I told in a movie that when I was Lithuanian, and it went right into Lithuania, right into my cousins' homes, right into my school, like school friends. Not they were never my friends, but you know, like my how do you call them? Classmates. And I was ripped into pieces from the moment that movie got put on fucking YouTube. You know, so even though my mom accepted, as I mentioned in the live, my mom accepted me doing webcamming. And I asked my mom to do porn. I said, Mom, because I needed to protect myself, right? So I said, Mom, I'm going to do porn. What do you feel about it? And she was like, ha, ha, ha. I was like, no, I'm serious. I'm going to do porn. And she was like, yeah. Like, she didn't believe me. A month later, all this shit has gone on.
Wow.
You know, and then my mom was like, I don't think she has ever said it, but I felt how much she was hating me for putting our entire family through that, you know. It was horrible.
Were you still living at home at this time? Were you still at home? And
no, not anymore. Yeah.
So from the time that you started webcam to getting into porn, what sort of time frame was that?
Okay, so I started webcamming almost 19, yeah, so 2 months before my 19th birthday, and then porn, it was 23 years old. So I think, yeah, it was just before my 24th birthday, I think. Right. I'm just trying to remember, but I think so, because it was in October time, so it would have been before my birthday as well. So yeah, that was like four years. Something like that. But so much shit has happened in those. That's why I said in the live, like, I don't really know the timelines, because everything is such a war. Like so much has happened during those years, you know.
And also too, like, what we understand about the industry and what you shared is the amount of drugs and alcohol involved as well, to be. Yeah. And so is this a norm? Like, to actually make a film, to actually be part of filming, there's going to have to be substances involved?
So not necessarily, depending on the quality of the company. Let's say the big companies, American companies, that is not the case anymore. It used to be. In America, mostly all the porn stars would have been high on coke. But now because of so many new laws, and as of 3 years ago, I think it has been made really strict. Like, you have to go on camera as a model release and to say that you are not under any influence on drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
So that is set in place, which is I think, now that I'm out of the industry, I think is great. During that, I thought, fuck you, you know, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I don't want to be sober for this. I don't want to be straight or sober for this.
Well, so most of my movies that I have done, only 1 or 2, no, actually 2, I'm really high, because it was a gangbang movies. So I was really, you can see that I'm so fucked out of my face. And then the other one, it was the night after, and I traveled from Glasgow, from escorting tour, to film this movie with like literally 2 hours sleep. So I had like few lines of coke to just keep me awake, you know. But you can't tell on that one. You know, I was kind of against doing drugs when I'm filmed, for people, for like big companies, you know, like if it's my shared content, most of the time I was high. And when I was doing escorting as well, the only thing that I would do is drink. I felt really unsafe to do drugs with clients, and it always ended up being like, I would always end up feeling used, because I would do much more than what I was getting paid for. Because when a guy is high, he wants nonstop action. And I was like, I'm not getting paid enough to do this shit.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just so numb. Everything is just so numb.
Well, this is the other thing, that out of body experience, being out of your body to be there, and so there's also this concept, well, not concept, the reality of splitting. You know, we know that when we go through trauma, we split. When, you know, a lot of sexual abuse, people that go through sexual abuse, people that go through violence, like where they split, children in households. So would that be for you like some sort of form of coping mechanism where you're splitting, whether you're out of your body?
Yeah. So drugs and alcohol were coping mechanism. Being strangled and smacked on my face was a coping mechanism. because I have been highly abused as a child, you know, to the extent where once my dad almost killed me when he hit me. And my mom, being with an alcoholic, she was just as abusive, you know. So the trauma that I went through when I was a little girl, it was, yeah, you know, but it's so easy for people to judge people like me, because they don't know what kind of things has happened to me to drive me into sex industry, you know. When I was 16, I almost got raped. And that's because my mom was angry for me having sex. And she told me, and she told the men in the house at the time that they can use whatever they fucking want with me because I'm a whore. And so I chose to be a whore because my own mom thought I was a whore.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know how much fucking courage that takes. How much courage it takes. And when we lose our trust in the feminine, there's getting down into this conversation about trust in the feminine, where we as girls can't trust the feminine, where the women that are around us, you know, whether it's our mothers, our aunties, our grandmothers, the girls in school, our teachers, where we are vilified for who we are. And it's actually the women that are vilifying us. It's actually our caretakers, our mothers and grandmothers that are not protecting us with the words they speak. And this, it's a huge part of also the work of what I do. I mean, I was sexually abused and my mother just told me to get on with it. She told me not to tell anyone, swept it under the carpet, told me just to forget, like, and just the conversation of like, well then, you know, and also too, where you're to blame, like the young girls to blame. What were you wearing? You shouldn't have been there. Or this thing, like where we're looking at the punishment. And this is also for me, what's in my felt sense in the emotional part of the emotional body around, and I'm not in the porn industry, but how it feels to me sometimes is like it's the takeover of the feminine. It's to punish women more. It's just like the disregard of the feminine experience of like, well, you're here, so therefore I just get to do this.
Yeah.
And it's the absolute rage of the masculine towards the feminine.
Yeah, what you said about vilifying, actually, when I lost my virginity with the guy who groomed me, like he saw me grow up. I was 14 and he was 24, so he saw me grow up. Like he was my grandparents' neighbor, you know. And when I told my best friends, and my best friends told the entire fucking city. And his mom came after me. A 14-year-old. I seduced him.
Oh my goodness, this is that part of like nowhere in culture, society, or religion are boys held accountable for their actions. Nowhere is it placed. You can, you know, use your sexual energy elsewhere. You're responsible for your own sexual energy. Use it elsewhere, no matter. Boys are not taught that in any system, in any education system. It is this constant vilification towards the feminine, no matter how young we are, no matter what we're wearing, no matter what's going, it is still. And as you say, the mother of the perpetrator comes after the victim.
Yeah. And you know, because I have done so much work on myself, like tons and tons and tons, what I'm understanding now, because when it comes to my own mother, I came to her 10 years later from that attempted rape. Mind you, it was filled with so much coke, so much drugs, so much alcohol, because I needed to process it. It took me 10 years to process it, and to come to my mom and be like, we need to talk. And, you know, my mom said, I wish you came to me earlier because I can't remember. And I was like, I was so fucking fuming. But then as I started to empathize, as much as I have had and have got still, because obviously I just cried. I don't usually, because I'm like, I dealt with it, but
Mm.
I got the PTSD from that, but so is my mom.
Yeah.
So does my mom, because I don't know how fucked up a parent has to be to not feel any remorse for doing something like that, you know? And it's like, even if they don't remember and they suppress it and they just totally forget about it, the body knows.
Yeah.
The body knows. The nervous, you know, and my mom has had a fair share of shit happen to her, you know? Like, she's equally, if not more traumatized than me. I mean, I would say she's more traumatized than I am. She chose things that luckily I didn't choose in this human experience, you know? So now that I am seeing everything and I am accepting, and my relationship with my mom is great, by the way, now.
Wow.
Because of me, because of the work that I have done on myself, you know? And my relationship with my dad is getting there yet again, because of the work I have done on myself, you know? And I'm just understanding that they were just as fucked up, if not more than I was, you know? So they didn't know any better. They just did what was done to them, you know? And yeah, sometimes I still get angry. And, you know, whenever I opened up like this and I talk about what happened, especially with my mom, I know that Lithuanian community in where she lives can use this against them, you know, and can really, you know, just open up another kind of worms. So porn was one thing, then this is another thing, you know. But I promised to myself that the difference that I can make to everyone else's life is really minuscule to the consequences that I will go through with my own family. You know, and I just feel like it's important for me to put it out there, because there is so much fear and shame around sharing the stories, you know, sharing these kind of stories. And if we don't share them, we never will heal them, you know.
This is also why it's so, you know, it's so profound and important for us to be speaking, because we live in a culture and society, even more so now, where everything's placed in front of us of, you need to be successful, you need to look this way, and like we view other people's lives as if nothing is going on for them. When we start to share our stories, we start to see the reality that we live in a trauma-based society. Our society is trauma-based. Without violence, without sexual violence, without horror, it is still a trauma-based society. And the fact that we are forced to live in isolation, mum, dad raising children, like that already is trauma-based, because we're not meant to be two adults working, maintaining life plus raise. It's meant to be community, the fact that we're responsible for everything. And so from that comes, you know, the degradation of our human experience, which is violence, like shutting off, splitting, like, you know, as you're sharing with your mum, like what she's already been through, the fact that she splits and she has to shut that memory off so that she can still continue moving forward. I mean, everything comes. And I think this is what's so, you know, when we're looking at, one thing that we did touch on Instagram is looking at you know, women in the porn industry as opposed to men. And so how, you know, generally the energetics of why women are in porn as opposed to why men in is, and how it is quite opposite. Can you share more on that?
Yeah, so what I think I need to specify very clearly is that women are collateral damage in porn. They're like changeable, like this. It's like it's a seasonal thing. And if you don't grow and change the way porn world is telling you, okay, so there was big fake tits. Did you get big fake tits? Oh, okay, now there is no big fake tits. Now there is a big ass. Are you gonna go and get a big ass? Because that is the market for it. And I was lucky enough to be with very toxic men, but they love natural curves. And they talked me out of a nose job, tit job. You know, the only thing that I have had done is liposuction. And I would never, ever do it again. But I done it, you know, and I stand by it, because it just was what it was. But when it comes to men, there is two men in porn industry at the moment, or maybe from from when I quit, let's say. I don't know now. I'm not involved. They even have their cocks insured.
Insured.
One guy's cock is insured $1 million. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but you can Google it and you will find it. Yeah, his dick is insured. I'm wondering whether another guy is insured like this as well, because they work for the same company. I'm gonna quickly Google it. Okay, no, it's only it's Kieran Lee. Kieran Lee dick is insured $1 million.
Heavens above.
Yeah, women are not insured. Women, like, no one gives a fuck about them. You know, there is no royalties. People think that, oh my God, once you are a porn star, you are set for life. No, you fucking ain't. Brie Olsen has been fighting this battle to get royalties from all the porn that she has made. Like, Brie Olsen was and still is one of the biggest porn stars in the world. And she is broke.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. You know, if you don't do OnlyFans or escorting, porn is not being a celebrity. Porn is gonna get you out there to get more clients, to get more leads for your OnlyFans. So you have to work real hard. You have to fuck many, 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 many times a day, you know? So that, you know, this is this whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And the way women are, some of the women treated, it depends on the trends. Also, as I mentioned in the live, I can't remember, legal porn. Legal porn is the name of the website. Their stuff is absolutely disgusting. It's the 4 cocks in 1 hole situation. Young girls, Russian, like Ukrainian, whatever. Mind you, I'm talking like 3 years ago, because I have not looked into it right now. That was the trend.
And as we know with trends, it's like then there's the boredom with the trend and things get moved. And it is once again the taking over of the feminine body. It's taking over of the feminine body. It's like, as you say, it's so interchangeable. My goodness me.
And some guys, I spoke to some guys actually, the conversation just flashed, who was supposed to do a scene like that. And he was like, I don't want my dick touching another dick. Like, so even men then are placed into this predicament where they're unable to say no. And men, by the way, are getting paid a fraction of what a woman is getting paid in porn, or unless their dick is insured £1 million, $1 million.
Oh, really? So it's the industry where the price discrepancy favors the woman than the man.
Yes. So it's one of the things that is very interesting about the industry, is that women get paid exponentially much more than a man, but she's still getting treated shit.
Oh my goodness. Well,
there's
so there's also that, well, we're paying you all of this money, we can do what we want.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, because I like, if taking adult modeling, right? So this is pictures, this is not a movie. I have had an instance where this photographer was taking pictures of me, and this is a whole day thing, yeah? And I'm not getting paid until the end, until this is finished. So in escorting, you take the money before. In porn, you get money after. So there is no fucking way to say no, you know? And I'm pretty sure that I wasn't supposed to suck this guy off. And as I was doing it, I was like, he is literally taking this situation and using it to his advantage. Because he is not fucking paying me to suck his dick right now. And there were instances like this all the time. You make a big movie, and then there is these little tiny movies for someone's subscription sites and whatever that you do on a side. I was like, what? Like they would squeeze everything out of you. Oh. Sorry, my battery is running low. Yeah, what's going on? And yeah, so they would squeeze everything out of the woman for this little price.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you share something on like your views of sex before going into the industry, during the industry, and now?
Okay, I'm just thinking that I need to grab a charger. I'm so sorry because it was full battery and the Zoom is just eating it up.
There should be some music playing now.
Yeah.
Intermission. This is a very organic conversation.
It is indeed. I think these are the best conversations, right?
Yeah. With all, I mean, I've got all of this electricity stuff that going on, like all of the like just all of.
And I got someone working on their stuff in the other room, dogs barking, roosters, all
Life in
fucking going on. Mexico things
so loud. We've just got construction that goes on and on and on because they take so long to do everything. It's just like, well, that should be done in 3 days. No, it's 2 months.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Mexico things. Anyway, sorry. What was your question again?
The question of like your views and attitudes towards sex before the industry, in the industry, and now.
Okay. So before the industry, I felt like I was there to please a man. As mentioned in the live, I only orgasm. Well, actually, only. I think maybe, to be honest, that's pretty good to orgasm on the third time you're having sex, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I was expecting a bit more than that. Yes, and basically the guy was expecting me to perform much better, even though he knew how old I was. And in Lithuania, it's kind of okay to be with someone 10 years older.
Right.
So when I was 14, the guys I was with was like 24. Okay, so yeah, so that was my understanding. The flashes of the sex that I get from when I was 14, it really saddens me, you know, because I thought I was an adult. And the sex I was having, I was literally laying there like a ton of bricks, you know. And yeah, there were some experiences that I really enjoyed. I just got a flashback. Not all of it was bad.
Not all of it was bad. No.
But I think as I was learning what I like, then that was coming along. But yeah, I felt like I was there to please a man for sure. Like it was just that. Then moving into the sex industry, obviously I was pleasing the man because I was the model. But I did enjoy that. Being watched, I realized that being watched, being an exhibitionist was something I really enjoyed without actually understanding that. But I love being watched, right? And in porn, after doing the movie that was like the one that I really wanted to do, I was acting for 7 minutes. Like there was no sex, but I was acting. This is why I say that was the best movie I have ever done, because I really enjoyed that acting. And then being watched, yeah, that turns me on. But it doesn't necessarily turns me on because of the having sex bit. Like me being watched on my TikTok videos, it turns me on, but not in a sexual way. But I'm recognized, you know. Human design, I am a projector. I need to be recognized.
Right.
And I didn't know that up until a few years ago. So now I understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and so like I mentioned, I got invited to explore BDSM very quickly, literally as I started webcamming. And that just fucking blew my mind. Like, I thought this guy really wanted to beat me up. Because I was like, you can't love me. Like, the love that I know is when people beat each other. My dad, my mom's ex-boyfriend, ex-partner. Like, I seen my mom like bashed up, and anyways. So that's what I thought that he wants to do to me, but I knew that it was wrong. So I was kind of playing along with the sub scenario, but not a slave scenario. I was like, no fucking way are you doing this to me? No. And the control, for me, it was my survival mechanism, so, and he wanted to take that away from me, which I didn't understand at the time, but obviously 10 years later now, I'm understanding what was going on. Ultimately, universe in a really fucked up way was trying to show me how the surrender works. Like, I was like, fuck you, surrender what? No fucking way am I surrendering to this dude, and it's funny because like with this particular man, like he had such an energetic hold on me that whenever I was in a really bad situation, I would go back to him. I would ask him to save me. That's how he got into my head, through the BDSM. So I always thought that BDSM was fucked up until I came to Puerto. and not really. I was kind of actually dabbling with the thought that you can play out and heal your trauma through BDSM. But then I met someone who is actually speaking about BDSM here in Puerto from a different perspective, from a healing perspective. So that kind of got solidified for me, and I understood how much of being strangled and being submissive has really worked for my trauma too, because I just didn't want to think. That's why I did so much drugs. I didn't want to think. So in BDSM, as a submissive, as a slave, you are giving your power away, your control away to someone else, right? So I experienced that in and out until Stephen died. And when Stephen died and I started doing, after my third Bufo Alvari ceremony, I was like, I can't do this shit. You want to beat me and I am not in for this. Like, no fucking way, and that was it. Done. Never ever gone back again. And
can I just add something in here, because we're talking about BDSM, and one thing that a lot of people don't understand, which obviously the way it was presented to you, it wasn't in this type of container. But when we're looking at sub and dom, which I'm assuming this person that you've met in Puerto Escondido is you're receiving this type of education around.
She's a sub, actually. It's a girl.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. But where the sub actually has all of the power, because they hand it to the dom. The dom doesn't take. And this is one thing that irks me like anything else when you're on dating sites. It was, I'm a dom, I'm looking for my sub. It's like, no, a sub looks for it, and it's got to be a trust thing. I had to put in a boundary for a potential date the other night, and I didn't go because he was a shibari rope tire, and I really want to get back into that. And I'm, finding other ways. We're getting workshops happening here in Puerto Vallarta with it from this woman in Guadalajara, etc., etc. But the fact of like, oh, do you, where he just assumed that because we were talking on like texting, that then if we met up, that he could just tie me up and we could play. I'm like, I haven't met you. I don't know what it feels like to be next to you. Like, there's no way I'm going to put myself in a position. It's like, you don't have the power to do. The sub has the power to entrust. Like, the sub entrust, and there's a whole container that needs to be built. There's all of these discussions that need to happen, need to discuss safe words, then what happens once it's all of this stuff. Like, that can take fucking hours. That could take half an hour.
For me, it took 10 years.
Yeah. So this thing of dom and sub is not that where the dom takes. It's everything's flipped. The actual reality is the other way around. So yeah,
So
I just want to.
can I just clarify that in the beginning, I did not understand that. And
Of
he didn't
course.
tell me. So I kind of, the way his thing worked, because he was a young dom, like young as an inexperienced dom at the time as well. So we grew kind of together, right? Even though he was a little bit older than me. But then eventually I understood that the power was in my hands, but it just didn't feel right because of, I always felt like this man wanted something from me. And as the time went on, he told me what he wanted from me. And it, like, without saying too much, it sounded like a satanic ritual. And I always knew that from the moment I started talking to him, that he wants my soul. And I fought it and I didn't give it to him.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's a big fucking success. Yeah. And then, yeah, so after Stephen died, I went to Bali. So this is before I met Stephen, but it was the same year, right? 2017. I went to Bali for 2.5 months. I worked my ass and pussy off to get to this place, to go into Bali. I thought I will relocate there. And I think the magic of Bali has really done something to me, because I didn't really want to be fucked hard anymore after that trip. It hurt. Like, I didn't want to be handled the way I was handled before. Well, actually, was it after my Kundalini awakening now that I'm thinking? Because I had a Kundalini awakening in 2015. So I think I was still very much in that, but I was noticing that sometimes it was a little bit too much. You know what I mean? So not the full on like pressure of like strangling and whatnot. Yes, like I said, there's so much things in my life. I'm like, which bit is attached to which one? But anyways, then I did not want to be, treated that way. I understood that it's actually my trauma, and that as I'm healing that trauma, that I don't need this physical expression to be in this kind of way. And then in 2019, this is the year when I started healing with the psychedelics. I met this guy that I actually met on a plane as I was going to Ibiza on a retreat just after Stephen died. And we connected very deeply, but nothing happened between us. And then in June 2019, I met up with him, and I have had my first tantric sex experience.
Woohoo!
I still think of that guy until this day. I still talk to him sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, like, if not for him, the whole tantra world wouldn't have opened up. Or maybe it would have, but not in that kind of sequence. It was the best fucking sex I have ever had. And I cried.
Well, Naringa is in Puerto Escondido, so we have little internet things that come and go. We're just going to have some patience. She will come back. And what I would just love to really express, like, you can see through her expression, which is supposed to, here we are. Like, I was just sharing, like, yes, we'll come back. But sharing is like, you know, for people watching and for men, like, this is what happens to the feminine, like your expression of like, oh my God, I still think of it, like just how your whole body changed, your face lit up. This is the gift that you get to give the feminine when you practice mastery of your ejaculation, when you hold the space, when you're going for pleasure, when you're using breath, when you become more present in your lovemaking and having sex. This is the result which all women are aching for. Well, I shouldn't say all. I can't talk for every single woman on the planet, but most women that I speak to.
You should try at least once, because if you don't try, you don't know. It's so mind-blowing, you know. It's like it's multidimensional, you know. It's just such a gift to the woman and to a man, to be honest, because for a man experience that, I feel really dizzy as I'm talking about this.
Yeah, because it's in your nervous system. It's in the myofascia.
I'm having an experience right now.
The gift that keeps on giving. You can just have it once and you spend your whole life in ecstasy.
Precisely that. So then, because I was not with him, it was just one type thing, one time thing, but a week long, but it didn't happen the same way. Then I was like, I need this in my life. So I found
were you still in porn when it happened? Were you still making
no.
no, so you
Oh,
were out of the
actually,
industry.
no, I still was, yes.
Okay.
2019, yes. So I started going to yoni massages, like tantric massage, a month after this experience, tantric sex experience. And I have had, my last movie was probably 2 massages later. So I filmed my last movie 2 massages later. And the first yoni massage, I was walking on fucking clouds. I mean, I was really horny for a week, but at the same time, I was like so in love with myself. Like it was, I don't know, it was just bliss, total bliss, you know. And I kept going to the massages, and I think it was the 6th one on my birthday. I have experienced something I have never experienced before, and that's when my yoni like opened up and up and up and up, and this guy just went in, and I was like, when my brain clicked what was going on, then I started to experience, I think, maybe releasing of the trauma and pain, because I was like, oh my God, like he is literally fisting me, you know, but that was so healing for me on such a big level. I don't know how many years of trauma that experience has released. It has never happened again, for those that are listening and thinking that, you know, it's like something going on there. No. Everything is nice and tight, okay?
It's a muscle.
Yeah, it is a muscle. So yes, and because of that journey, then I obviously went to tantra school. I had a lover also from tantra school, and we explored in a tantric way. And that was actually, I was already on a journey where I was honoring myself more, and I wasn't sleeping around. And I start like, that was around that time. Before getting with the tantra guy from the tantra school, I was not having sex with anyone for 6 months. I was just so fed up of being hurt every time I slept with someone, and I knew that not getting to know the guy and sleeping with him on the first date that's what's setting me up for fail. But I just could not stop. I just could not do it up until this year.
Wow. It takes time to unravel the nervous system from the habit. No. One thing I wanted to ask is, like, when you were in the porn industry, when you were filming and working, having sex outside of work, was it just like a can you share about that? Like, did you have to be high and drunk to have sex, or were you having sober sex? And
okay, so I actually had a conversation with my ex-boyfriend about this, and I forgot like that he shared this, but I wasn't even in porn industry when he would request to do certain things with me, and I would say no, because this reminds me of work.
Okay.
So even now, like my last sexual experience here in Porto, calling him out, the things that the guy liked made me feel like I was working again. And it takes such a quick moment of, I was there to pleasure him. Even he thought he was like all tantric, pretending to be all fucking tantrika and shit like that. And I got tricked into thinking that I will get more out of this experience, but no, he got the experience, and I got the feeling of, oh, here we go again. You know, like even simple things as the way the woman likes to be on top. You know, you have to ask. If you assume that the way you like it, she will like that, it's a fail already.
Yeah, it's like, and just because, I mean, I've also had men say, oh, but no one's ever complained before, or the woman, I've never had, do you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter. You're with me.
Yeah.
This is a whole new conversation just because other women have either stayed quiet or they've expressed what that what you're doing is okay. Doesn't mean it's going to be okay for my body.
Yeah. Actually, that guy, this said guy said the same thing when I shared about our whole experience as a whole. You know how I was feeling. He said, "Well, no one has ever said anything." Nah, yeah, because they're not fucking saying it.
Because I'm not saying no one's ever said it before. It's like, have you asked? Did you?
Yeah.
That's another beautiful part. I mean, one thing that's not discussed is the aftercare. Like when you have a sexual experience, to be then speaking, oh my God, what really worked for you? What could have I, was there something that I could have done better? Is there something that you felt you weren't like to have this conversation? It's so interesting how people will go and play sports. They'll have a soccer game. They'll train all week. They'll train months and months for the final. Yeah. They go, and then after every game, they huddle in and they talk about what play worked, what play didn't work, how to become better. And they'll do it for sports. They'll do it for work. They'll do it for business. They learn how to, if they're going to like build a car or,
and for sex, I find personally about sex, you talk, if you stay friends with your exes, they tell you
years later what they needed or what.
And I'm like, I mean, okay, we were young, so like we would have had a big blown fucking argument and I would have told you to fuck off. So, that makes sense. But just like if adults would have conversations like this, and I think what's important to really consider is even when you are having sex and if you are not enjoying something, just say it. And it's because that will stop the resentment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if you wait a day, okay, a day is okay. If you wait more than 2 days after you had sex and you had not a good experience, you're gonna hate the person. The more you wait, the more you hate.
Because you're in your head about it, and this is also one thing to understand. It's also with men, when men are not honoring themselves, like erectile dysfunction, as we talked about the word, it's an absolute function. It's not a dysfunction. It's, showing you something. It's calling attention to you, is where our bodies numb down,
The way I saw it, as you said that, it's a pause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like a void. It's like, so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go in? Are you going to dive into your emotions and what's making this happen for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or are you just going to, suppress it even more,
deal with it even more shame and more guilt. And this is one thing to understand, is like everything is about sex except for sex. Our whole life has this in the core, and yet we won't talk about it, and yet it's what causes most of the, not most, it causes much grief, much guilt, much shame. And if we're not going to look at it, we're not going to shift out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's like this with every trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation, every experience, even let's just take a normal experience that you have had with someone yesterday at the shop. If you don't vent about it in a safe space, asking for permission to vent, by the way, people be doing things consciously, then that will build inside of you. The outlet needs to be expressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Yeah.
It's, as we do sex is how we do life. How we show up in life is how we show up in bed. So it's like there's this constant bridge that we have to have the invitation for ourselves and our lovers to be crossing back and forth. And everything is curiosity and information. This is the other thing that shrouds sex. The shame, the fear, the guilt of doing something wrong. It's like, well, how can you know unless you learn? How can you know if you don't have conversations? I think... Sorry, darling. Mm-hmm.
I think to add on that, having a partner that you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very much, you are aware of that when you have done quite a lot of work on your body. Your body will tell you if the person is if the person is the right person for you to experiment, talk about things, you know, like with what I said about this last guy, I wouldn't have been able to have these conversations. But the guy prior him 6 months ago, a beautiful lover that I have had, I got blessed by him literally after years and years of shit sex. You know, I was able to talk to him about things, my fantasies, which I wasn't able to do with others, you know? So it's really feeling what is inside for you when it comes to other person.
Would you be willing to share what you do now coming out of all of that? You know, our mess is our message, which I really love.
I love it. Yes, and it's so interesting what you said. Our mess is our message. Wow, that's another one to add to my list. But I recently, when was it? On the 22nd of July, I went viral on TikTok. I shared a story of why I quit sex industry in total, but escorting especially, because I quit porn a year before that. And someone has went on my Instagram and found this post that I written a year ago, almost to the date, because I've been trying to speak like this for a year consciously, but I just couldn't. I was so fucking terrified, you know? And this post said, your story is going to be someone's survival guide. And you know, and I was like, thank you so much for finding this post. And prior that post, I thought of this statement to help me, is that my fear is smaller than the difference I can make. And so with that, the difference that I want to make is to educate. I got so many goosebumps. I want to educate the younger generations. So the people who are 18 right now, to de-glamorize the sex industry.
Yeah.
My vision for the future is to have a charity for these young people who are not able to afford the therapy, to provide them that container to do the work, to do the trauma work, shadow work, you know, so they wouldn't have to go into sex industry and traumatize themselves even more, you know, because as much as in some aspects, sex industry did help me because I had the money to do the therapy. But at the same time, the compound effect and consequences were much, much larger. So that's one part. And another part, I want to show the sex workers, the porn stars, that there is another way. You know, that you can work in the corporate like I did if you want to. But you need to do the work. You know, without the work, you will not be able to hold a job. I tried many times. I was not able to work more than 3 weeks in a normal job. And that's because of my trauma. So I got the tools to show people the way out. And I'm the great example that it's possible and that you will literally have the best life after you put in the work, like real nitty-gritty work on yourself. It's time to love yourself, you know, like this is when you will see the amount of love that you put into yourself, because your life will just change.
Oh, we've got a glitch again. Puerto Escondido, life will change. Oh, here we are back. Speaking of that, you know, one thing I know before we started recording, we were talking about the gift of the masculine, and I want to finish off with this because I think it's really important, because also too, when we speak of an industry such as the sex industry, on a somatic level, epigenetically wise, it is this sort of mistrust often hatred and towards the masculine, that they do, that it is a masculine based industry where the feminine has no, no say, no rights, etc. And yet before we hopped on, and as people know, I work with men, I'm a men's sex coach as well as a women's and couples sex coach. It's where there's so many men that are so fucking amazing. And when we're involved, and and when you're involved in that kind of industry where you lose hope, that is like the view of how men view women is really warped, because it's very intense being in that industry. So I'd love you to share like your recent experience of like sharing with men, because I think it's so important that we as women get to hear this, that men get to hear it, because there's
Yeah.
fucking amazing men on the planet, and we need
Thank you so much for reminding me to speak about this, because this is, I spoke on this on my TikTok, and someone said all men are predators, and I said, well, fuck no, and I will explain to you why it's not the case. Ever since I came to Mexico, and it's been 4 months, right? My traveling started with quiet, hard experience with the most lovely man who actually held space for me when I was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not what I'm used to. Like, I have had one experience with the Tantra guy that he held space for 6 months for me when I was trying to let him go, but he has done so much work on himself. And this guy, he was the same. He held space, as much as he could within his own attachment styles and whatnot. And then as I moved towards Oaxaca City has been the most beautiful and healing place for me. I have met Elitim, the breatharian guy, Elitim, I can't remember his surname, but he was my spiritual dad. I hung out with him a lot, and I shared my experiences, and he helped me, he supported me, like he loved me. He still does, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like, I felt this so much love. And then meeting other men and hanging out with men a lot, which is so unusual for me, because I would try to stay the fuck away from men, especially my friends' boyfriends, because they would always cross the fucking line. Because they knew I was a porn star, they would always cross the line. And now in Oaxaca City, these guys, when I would tell them that I was an ex-porn star, some of them asked permission to ask questions. And I was just like, whoa.
That's a thing.
Thing?
It is an absolute thing, and how beautiful you're experiencing it.
And I was like, I don't think I have ever felt so respected for my past. Because the guy, the one that I'm speaking in particular, it's all platonic, by the way. All platonic, which has blown my fucking mind too.
Oh my goodness, I can imagine.
And the way he was asking me, it was like curiosity, concern. He had a similar experience with the sex work as well. So he was trying to understand, like really understand, because probably he wasn't able to talk with this particular person. So he was getting the understanding from me, and understanding about her wounds and why she was like this and These are the conversations that I was having with these men, right? And then I came to Puerto, and I was all Puerto Escondido, and I was always afraid to share my story with men because of what I said earlier, and I was just being objectified and judged and shamed, and even if they didn't say it, I could feel it. I felt it. I'm intuitive, so like I knew, and they didn't want to be with me. So that was a fucking big proof that I wasn't worthy, And then I come here, I joined this mastermind, business mastermind, to get my business out and flourishing. And I shared my past with these 3 beautiful men. That support and the container every single one of these divine masculines has given me. Did you see my eye? I was like, it was very different expression every guy had, but nevertheless, divine masculine expression. And the way they held me and supported me and encouraged me to share my story. A few days later, I did this TikTok video that went viral. So my experiences that I have had with men in Mexico has shifted my understanding of men completely. I don't see men as predators anymore. I don't see them as perverts, not all of them. You know, and it's such a beautiful place to be in, because I am totally understanding that it took the inner work on my own inner masculine to see that outwardly now in the world. You know, because I'm able to do the things I needed to do. Before, I wasn't consistent. I wasn't respecting myself. I wasn't supporting myself, you know. And because once I started really doing that slowly to myself, all these men appeared, like physically to support me, physically help me, and to show me that actually, because you've done this work on yourself, now here it is, the proof, you know.
Wow. That's a really, really beautiful story to end on. And I'm also sitting here in such awe of where we get to have this conversation where it's actually all of this shift for you is really new, you know. It's really beautiful. So thank you so much for coming and speaking with me today. I've just had you all morning.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so beautiful.
And I want to really acknowledge the courage it takes to speak about your life, the vulnerability, and how there's so much courage in being vulnerable and truthful. And thank you for doing the work. And I can't fucking wait to see where this goes for you and the difference that you're going to make in the world. And it, you know, as they say, like we make a difference in one person's life, it's all worth it. But you're going to make a difference in so many young girls' lives, older, I shouldn't just say young girls, women's lives, and also probably men as well.
I would really hope so. Like, I'm not, at the moment, I'm concentrating on women only.
Yes.
But I really hope that I will be able to help men too. You know, I do not discriminate like this, but it's a step at a time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, darling.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening, guys.